If I look deceased in this video, it's because I've gotten 8 hours of sleep over the course of the last 2 days, so I'm feeling good. I am thriving, and it is actually that time of the year where I piece together a bunch of videos that I didn't end up finishing from earlier in the year, compile them into one video to make it seem like I'm busier and cooler than I actually am. So that's exactly what we're doing today. I have some photos that I think are worth sharing, and some of these experiences were pretty fun, so it's worth talking about it. And I actually like doing these videos because I like my photography much more like months down the road for some reason. Like right when I get the scans back, I want to vomit usually. Then when I go back and look at those photos again, 6 months later, I'm like, hey, it's actually not a terrible photo. First of all, back in July, Alicia and I went up to Sunrise at Mount Rainier National Park with Alicia's friend Anya, who was visiting, and it was her first time at Mount Rainier National Park. So obviously it's cool being up there with somebody who hasn't experienced seeing the mountain that close before. Just breathtaking views up at Sunrise. I brought the Bronica up. This was right after I fixed the light seals on it, so I was testing it out, and God, I love that camera. It's such a good camera. Just beautiful afternoon up here at Sunrise, though. The mountain was out, a little bit of cloud coverage, but just kind of added to the overall landscape. A picture-perfect day up at Mount Rainier National Park. These were all on Portra 400. Solid little outing up to one of my favorite places in Washington. And then just a couple days later, same group, same gang, Alicia, Anya, and I did a hike also in Mount Rainier National Park called Ptolemy Peak. It's a really popular one. It's one that I've wanted to do for a long time because I heard you get maybe the best view of Mount Rainier in the entire state. If not the best, at least top 3, I would say. But leading up to this day, I was looking at the weather and I was tracking it, and I was like, all right, there's some low cloud coverage. We're either going to be just above the clouds and get a nice view of the mountain, or we're going to be just below the clouds and still be able to get a nice view of the mountain. I was like, there's no way we're going to be smack dab right in the middle of the clouds, right? We get up there to the top of Ptolemy Peak, and we are completely socked in, like in the middle of this pack of clouds. So no view of the mountain. Put in all that work for no view, but still a great time. I mean, anytime you're getting outside, getting some exercise, you got beautiful nature around you, beautiful greens around you, some wildlife, that's hard to complain about. Brought the Bronica up on this one too. Even though it was cloudy, kind of added to some of these photos, I think. I shot down around the lake area, just at the basin of Ptolemy Peak. Shot some photos of Alicia. And the clouds were kind of misting in, so it created this really dramatic, kind of classic PNW atmosphere, if you will. And then at the top of Ptolemy Peak, there's a fire lookout, which is always a good place to chill, grab a sip of water, eat a snack, and it's usually the place where you sit and admire the beautiful view of Mount Rainier. But no luck for us on this day. But kind of at the very end of our time up at the fire lookout, the clouds like ever so slightly started to part, and we got a corner glimpse of Mount Rainier, and it was like a magical moment. Alicia literally gasps. I've never heard her gasp before. I mean, it was pretty incredible because the corner of the mountain just like revealed itself right behind these clouds, and it gave you a sense of scale actually as to how big and how close you are to this thing. So pretty cool, pretty fun. And then this lake, the color of this water, oh man, that deep turquoise makes me just want to jump in there and suck it dry. We're going to move on. So this was another hike that I went on to Lake 22. I wasn't supposed to do this hike. I was actually supposed to go on a backpacking trip. And I got to the parking lot and realized that I forgot my time code generator for my lav mics, which means that any clip that I got of me talking, I'd have to go in and manually sync up all of the audio and all of the video, and sometimes I'm 50 yards away from the camera while I'm talking to it on these backpacking trips. I mean, it would have taken at least a full entire day just to manually go in and sync all these clips together, whereas if I had just remembered to bring that fucking thing, I could have clicked the button and resolve and everything would have been done for me. So yeah, that was a really fun thing to forget. So I decided to not do the backpacking trip because I wanted to do it right, film it right. So on the way back, I just stopped off the side of the road, did this hike, Lake 22, which is another popular one that I've been wanting to do. So it ended up working out. It was in the middle of the day, though. The light was terrible. But I did get a couple of photos that I don't think are too bad. I got one of this kind of hill right adjacent to the lake. And yeah, the light's not too bad in this. The shadows are kind of casting in a cool way. So, and then I got this photo of the far side of the lake, which has big rising cliffs, super beautiful. And there's a little waterfall kind of trickling down off one of the cliffs. And for some reason, the way the sun was shining in, it was kind of like just hitting over the ridge line, and it was casting this really cool mixed light on this side of the lake only. And I snapped this photo of, the edge of this cliff with the waterfall coming down, and, the sections of the photo that are being cast in light, and then the sections of the photo that kind of have shadows in them. It all works really well together and makes this like interesting kind of mixed lighting scenario. So it actually worked out, even though, again, it was like middle of the day. Usually would not want to shoot photos at this time of day, but for some reason I don't mind this one and that last one, but the rest of the photos are dog shit. I'm just gonna throw a little bonus category in here, few bonus photos. Alicia and I went up to shoot a wedding in the North Cascades. Shot a couple of rolls of Gold 200, and then I shot a roll of Kentmere 400 as well. And I got this flash for the Pentax called the Pentax AF 400T. I think it's a beast. I mean, you think this camera can't get any bigger, you throw this flash on there and you're like, oh god, back to the gym I go. Loved bringing that setup around and shoot some flash in the middle of the day. I also shot some flash at night too, of course, but yeah, some different photos. I wouldn't say they're anything crazy, but it was fun to experiment a little bit. And then of course, throwing the 105 on there, shooting it at f2.4, thinking I'm gonna nail focus every time I take a photo. It's a real humbling experience when you get those scans back, especially when you're trying to get those kind of like close-up, just headshot style portraits. You'll bring the camera up, focus on your subject's eye, and then even that slight adjustment when you bring the camera back to level, the depth of field is so shallow. I mean, it's like an f1.1 equivalent. It's so shallow. Any little micro movements you make after you nail focus can bring that depth of field in and out ever so slightly, and then your subject's eye is not in focus anymore. It's the hair sitting on her shoulder. So, it is what it is. Missed focus on a few, but the full body portraits that I shot on the Pentax turned out pretty damn cool, I think. Obviously, your depth of field is not a lot, but larger enough when you're shooting a full body portrait where you have a little bit of, little room for error there. So I love shooting those full body portraits on the 105 at f2.4. Really get that large format type look because of the depth of field. Because some of these photos are pretty fun, pretty cool. And then I also shot a roll of Kentmere, as I said, and this was more towards the evening, and that flash is so bright. But one of the nice things about it is it's TTL auto, so it's full auto. You just set your aperture and you're good to go, and the flash just takes care of the rest, so you really don't have to think about much, and it nails the exposure every time. God, it's good shooting black and white too, man. It's one of those things where I'm like, why don't I just put more black and white rolls in the damn camera and have a good time? Yeah, a wedding on 6x7 film. Good times. And then after the wedding, Alicia and I got a little cabin up in the North Cascades, did a little getaway, and I put a roll of Kentmere in the Pentax just around the cabin to mess around. Shot a couple portraits of Alicia. Yeah, God, that 105, man. Oh, it's good. Yeah. Gets me fired up. I like some of these pictures of Alicia. Give Alicia the Pentax. She shot a couple of me. Look at her just dialing in focus. She gets focus better than I do. Classic. And then a black bear came by our cabin, hung out for a little bit, so that was cool to see that guy just chilling. Got the worst photo of all time of the thing, but it's a photo nonetheless. All right, and then the last trip, a good old-fashioned good time at San Luis Obispo, California. I really like that area of California. The Central Coast it's a good spot. Alicia and I had a wedding there a couple of weeks ago. We got there a day early just so we could hang out. Went out to Morro Bay, went out to the coast, and on this trip I brought the Mamiya 7. Yeah, shot a roll at Kentmere again. I really like Kentmere, man. It's cheap and it's good. That's all you can really ask for in a film stock these days. So, big fan of Kentmere. That's definitely my go-to black and white. It's the only black and white I have in the fridge right now. So, enjoyed shooting that, and I enjoyed the black and white results. This photo is pretty funny because I was trying to recreate a photo I took of Alicia doing this exact same thing back in 2020. She put her hand up over her eyes, and I shot a photo looking through her arm, kind of like a frame within a frame situation, and there were some rocks just out beyond where we were at this lookout. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna make those rocks with a subject and frame them in between her arm. But I was shooting on the Mamiya, so when I framed it up through the viewfinder, didn't take into consideration that the lens was 2 inches to my right. So instead of a shot looking through her arms with those rocks that I wanted out in the water, I get a nice shot of the back of her head. Still acclimating to those rangefinders, man, but I am liking the Mamiya. I'm definitely keeping it this time for at least a good while. So nice for traveling. Yeah, it's overpriced as hell, and I kind of hate myself for buying it, but, you know, it's a good camera. I'm glad I gave it a second chance. We went out to Morro Bay for sunset and had a breathtaking sunset. The sun was kind of hiding behind some clouds for a bit and then just came full raging out below the cloud line. Lit up the water, a bunch of surfers out in the water, and just had a field day out there with a couple of rolls of Portra 400. And the Mamiya, I was just relying on the internal light meter, kind of, you know, pointing the viewfinder away from the sun and just like down into the sand a little bit. So it's probably overall overexposing the film a little bit, but all these exposures came out really, really good. So it's nice to know that, you know, you have a pretty reliable light meter in the Mamiya, and kind of learning how to use that light meter in different lighting situations, making mental notes of that to reference in the future whenever I have some kind of weird lighting situation. So yeah, most of these were f8 at 1/250th, I want to say, and they turned out really nice. Super stoked on some of these photos for sure. And then Alicia, while I was doing this, she was shooting a little maternity photo shoot for some friends of ours, and I had a couple of shots left on the Mamiya, so I took a couple photos of them, which is cute. You know, it's always fun to give somebody a 6x7 photo if they've never had their picture taken on 6x7 film before. So that wraps up the recent trips. That wraps up what I've kind of been up to recently and not so recently, I guess. But yeah, that's it from me, guys. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying healthy, having fun. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Squarespace is the best in the business when it comes to building a new website. Whether you're a photographer, artist, musician, or starting a new business, Squarespace has all the tools you need to get a professional website up and running. I recently hosted an entire online photography gallery that featured 100 photographers from around the world on my personal website, and that's all thanks to Squarespace. The website building interface is extremely intuitive and absolutely zero coding is necessary. They have a ton of fantastic templates to choose from, and from there you can begin to further customize the look and feel of your site to make it unique to you. On top of that, they have great e-commerce tools that let you keep track of orders, inventory, customers, offer memberships, and more. And with fantastic customer service, you're always in the clear if you ever need help along the way. If you'd like to receive 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, head over to squarespace.com/Brae or use code Brae at checkout to do so.